All right. Apparently, I'm live. YouTube is telling me I'm live. I got 5 people. So I'm going to need just this wonderful fan base I'm seeing in the chat. You got to tell me if I'm live, cuz sometimes, no hate to the boomers. Sometimes I feel like a boomer and I just, you know, okay. Thanks Josh. Appreciate it. All right. So apparently what you're supposed to do is you're not supposed to show up on time. It's like a really cool party. If you show up on time, it's like this kind of people are showing up on time, but except it's my party and then I show up late to my own party. So I don't know, maybe that doesn't really make sense, but we're hanging out. We got chat popping off. Got a few I didn't even know people were going to show up. Wow, how's that? So we're going to wait a few minutes, see if some more people show up. Let's see. Okay, maybe should I post on Instagram? And well, no, because like 4 people will see it between now and like 10 minutes. But like I said, this is just, like I'm recording a podcast, but it's just going to be live. So I will bring some entertainment before we really start the meat and potatoes, because I am a man who delivers. All right. So something I was thinking about here, I got to move this computer here. Something I was thinking about, being from California and all. Something I absolutely miss about California is the what is it? The Latin American culture. Just absolutely wonderful people. They know how to party. They know how to make food, like really good food, and just super fun people. So, so I could play a few different guitars, but because I'm feeling, uh, you know, I'm missing a little bit of Southern California, we're going to bring out the nylon string guitar. Bring some Spanish feel to it. It's like playing the right there, right? So the cool thing, you're going to get a guitar lesson in this too, because I'm just going to explain myself. Let's see, where are we at? Right there. So we got a minor scale. But then you get a little jiggy with it, as the kids say. Say that? I think so. Adds a little flavor to it. Throw a chord progression on top of that. There's a little mystery to it. And then what you got is so let's do a cool little pattern here. So in case any of you guys are guitar enthusiasts and you want to learn this technique, here's a cool thing. So you got, your index finger and your thumb. Okay, I'm making sure you could see this. Okay, you can. Downstroke with the index finger, downstroke with the thumb, then upstroke with the index finger. You see that? And then loosen the rest of your fingers. Gives it a nice little triplet feel. And then we throw it on top of that chord progression I just dropped on you. And then maybe you go a little bit faster, throwing some eighth notes, right? Like I'm beatboxing on the guitar, right? Little rumba feel. See, it's so good. Like that Spanish style kind of music is so good. It's like it's mysterious. You want to do you want to put on a mask? Do you want to put on a big flailing skirt for my women, right? And do you want to stomp? And it's awesome. It's so cool. Missing my Latin American culture. You really don't get that out here in the South, in Tennessee. Although it's starting to pop up a little bit more, which I'm not opposed to. So it's about 7:10. We're going to get going. I hope that was entertaining. I hope you got a good guitar lesson out of that. You're starting off your guitar journey with that, and that was a free lesson. All right. If you want any more, I'm going to have to charge. All right. So strange doing this live. Actually have people listen. Usually I can like mess up and then I could redo it, but doing this live. But welcome everyone. So it's a good. Oh wait, did I mute something? Let's see here. Gonna have to let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Let's see. Okay, how about now? No? Yep. All right. Bro, y'all are trolling me. Okay. Here we go. You see, like I can't actually tell if you can hear me because you're like trolling, but then I don't know. So I'm just gonna assume that you can hear me. Okay. So all right. Someone is actually I can't hear you. So let me try fixing my net. Leave it to my sister to be the bearer of truth. Right. Okay. Let's see here. Well, I don't want to keep going if you can't hear me. Okay. Technical difficulties. So get your last scrolling in of Instagram, okay. So we got 2 people saying they can hear. So we're good. Okay, cool. All right. So we're going to keep going. All right. So a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Let's see here. I got to pull up my notes because I got to come prepared. All right. So I'm going to talk about something that uh, my sister just reassuring me that y'all can hear me. So, okay. There we go. All right. Got my fans cheering me on. Okay. So I'm going to talk about something that I'm probably pretty sure no one in the live audience uh, will get, but I will try to explain it. Like I said, this is going to be kind of posted up, and you're going to see this, or people are going to be able to access this, from this moment on. So today, I just want to talk about some music that I've been listening to lately, and actually been listening to some rap music. Can you believe that? Someone like me just really digging on some rap music, and so we got to talk about this rap music. So the cool thing about these 2 albums that I've been listening to is they're very um, really really making a lot of progress for the rap game, and these are albums from Pusha T and Fivio Foreign. Gang Gang. What names, right? Pusha T and Fivio Foreign. Pusha T, it's Almost Dry, and then Fivio Foreign, Bible acronym. So 2 really great albums, I thought. So something I should say at the top, I don't really condone the messages that these albums were pushing out necessarily. Some of it was, like, okay, this is it's a little wrong. Let's not glorify that. We shouldn't be espousing that. But um, I think they're touching on something that is actually really important. The overall theme of these albums, that is. So I want to start talking a little bit about the 504 album. So this is a really interesting genre of music that is it's been around for a little while, but really been popularized pretty recently. I think it's called drill rap. And wow, I feel like such like the white dude nerd when I talk about this stuff. It's just feel like I don't fit in anyways. So drill rap, it's pretty cool. It's really aggressive. It's really like the words are aggressive, the rhyme schemes are aggressive, the rhythms with the words is really aggressive. The beats are really aggressive. Did I say it's aggressive? I might have forgot to mention that. It's pretty aggressive. And some drill rap is actually just absolute trash, terrible, I mean, just very heathen, just morally degenerate drill rap. Other drill rap like this album, I do not think is pretty degenerate. Some of little bits and pieces, but overall it's pretty good. And then it was produced by Kanye West. Going to get to Kanye here in a little bit, but I've just been such a fan of Kanye West recently. Amidst all the controversy, I still come out as a huge fan of Kanye West, and this man, I will stand by him. Absolute genius. Um, Especially a musical genius, and you could really see that on the production of this album. And then he actually produced a little bit of Pusha T's album. And uh, so something I'll say about that Pusha T album, it's almost dry, is it's not drill rap. It's more of a classic rap style album, but it's got a nice little flow to it. And the thing that I'm really enjoying about his album is that the production is really big. It seems like probably 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even older, it was like it was really just about the rapping itself, and then the beats were like real background, like you can kind of put whatever beat you want, and then it was all about the rapping, which was cool and it worked. And sometimes you had some really good production, but by and large, it wasn't so emphasized. But I think Kanye has been the one who's really been the leader in bringing the whole production. And as someone who loves music, I really appreciate when artists come together and they create a whole production where you're not just listening to the rapping, and you're not just listening to the rhyme schemes and whatnot, which is awesome to listen to, but you're listening to right, the chord progression. You're listening to maybe the beats, the rhythms, the bass, and just better production is better evocation. There you go. That's a little clever clever little phrase right there. But the better the production, the better the songs can evoke whatever emotions that the artist is um, trying to portray, trying to evoke from his listeners. And I think the overall theme with these two albums, and this is really where I'm getting to the meat of why I bring these up, is this idea of confidence. And I think, let's walk it back a little bit. You might ask yourself, like, hey, why are you even listening to these albums in the first place, Trevor? There's moments in these albums where they're glorifying, drug use, drug distribution, you know, probably not the best language about women, although there's a lot worse out there. These albums are very tame compared to what else is out there. But you might ask yourself these questions, and I think there's two answers to it. And I think the first one is, you know, why why is our culture producing this in that moment? And then when we can kind of analyze that, we could start to understand our culture a little bit better. And then also the second part of the answer is, what truth is this getting at? Because these things are very successful. These albums, these styles, they're very successful, and so they wouldn't be successful if they weren't striking a chord with people, if they weren't touching something that's really deep within their souls, really deep within their hearts. And if they're touching things that are deep in their hearts, and then that means there's some truth to be found there. And let's explore that and let's find that. And so that brings me to what I said, confidence. And I think these two albums are really good in portraying confidence and inspiring confidence. I mean, dude, it's just a fact. When you're listening to these albums, you feel like a baller and you haven't done anything, but you're listening to these things and you're like, "Ooh, son, you feel that? Like it's hard. You're feeling the bass. You want to put on some shades. You want a drop top, but I'm in a four-wheel drive truck. I'm like, where's my drop top? I got to get in my drop top, dude. I need to be balling out here. It puts you in that mindset, and it puts you in a lot of, like, having a confident mindset. And then you say, what is kind of bolstering this confidence that they're portraying? And it's, these guys are working hard. They really out in these streets, as the kids would say. They out in these streets and they're grinding, they're hustling, they're making their music, right? They're making deals, they're working really hard. They're in the stew, as they say. They're in the stew, they're in the studio, and they're working really hard. And you listen to these albums, it's like no wonder they've been working hard, and then they make millions and millions of dollars, and then that's when that hard work really pays off, and they're getting to that confidence. And I think right now in our culture, confidence is something that we need. I think we this culture is like really shy and afraid of confidence, and it's not even for good reason too, because I totally sympathize with the perspective of, you know, I do want to be confident, but I don't want to risk being prideful, right? That's a line that even I every day just have a hard time balancing, and I always revert back to just playing it safe, so as to not be prideful. But I think there is a good way to go about it, and we'll get to that here in a second. But I mean, just as far as the culture, there's a lot of messages out there, especially, hey, if you're a man, you're supposed to, hate these traits that make you masculine. You're supposed to, um, h- bottle them up. You're supposed to restrict a lot of these masculine traits. And it's like, okay, these masculine traits are something that's really inherent in men. You can't just bottle that up. You can't just condemn that. You can't just attack it, right? Sure, they might manifest bad, but they're going to be there. Either they're going to manifest bad or they're going to manifest in a good way. So let's work on manifesting them in a good way. Um, but here, hold on. Mouth is getting a little dry. All right, good little reset. Um, but then also, this idea of you know attacking confidence, attacking who you are. The whole critical race theory. It's really an idea of, if you're white, you are inherently racist. And this is language that the foremost thinkers of critical race theory are saying. You can look in their books, right? What's his name? Ibram X. Kendi. Is it Robin DiAngelo? I think these are probably the two most leading thinkers. I would call them like delusioners, but that's not a word. In the field of critical race theory, and they're saying these things, that being white is inherently racist, and then like whiteness is this it's a system, and it's like, why are you linking something like race to a system of oppression? Anyways, I could go off on that, but let's get back to the original point. Um, my original point was this culture needs confidence, and I think this is something that I would love to see conservatives, I would love to see Christians lean into, is confidence. And we can look at what are these albums getting at? What chord are they striking, that when you listen to them, you feel like a baller. You feel like you could take on any challenge you want. What is it that is striking a chord with that? And so, something on confidence is confidence is something that the Bible talks a lot about. Real quickly, I was like looking up confidence in the Bible, and there's a ton of verses that speak on it. Some of them you got to be careful to not take out of context, but I'll share with you a couple of verses here. So we got Ephesians 3:12. In him and through faith in him we may approach God with freedom and confidence, right? Very very simply, God loves us. God wants a relationship with us. God wants to support us. He wants to be there for us. He's going to get us through the tough challenges in life. And it's the God of the universe, man, the creator of all. Confidence, dude. Like, how does that not give you some confidence? It's like, bro, I got God on my side. Are you kidding me, dude? I'm about to put on my shades and I'm gonna walk out and I'm gonna take on what what life has to throw at me with confidence, because I got God on my side. Amen. Can I get a can I get an amen? Um, and then let's see, real quick, does that door behind you take you to Narnia? Um, no comment. Can neither confirm nor deny. But here, so this is a passage that I think leads me into kind of the precipice of this. this conversation here. We got Hebrews chapter 10, verse 32 through 36. And it's a little long, so just follow me here. Remember those earlier days after you had received the light, when you endured in a great conflict full of suffering. By the way, author is um, writing to a church. Sometimes you were publicly exposed to insult and persecution. At other times, you stood side by side with those who were so treated. You suffered along with those in prison and joyfully accepted the confiscation of your property because you knew that you yourselves had better and lasting possessions. So do not throw away your confidence, it will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, excuse me, you will receive what he has promised. And this goes back to what I was saying, trying to find that line of being confident but not being prideful. What's the difference of a very prideful confidence and a very humble confidence? A prideful confidence is, thinking beyond your ability. Like, "Oh, I got this, dude." And it's like, "No, you really don't got this." Or what life experience have you gone through that tells you that you got this, you know? Or thinking that interacting in relationships that you're just great at it, and and that being so good in your relationships, you're not, you know you're not prone to messing up, or at least you'll be able to, you're so in touch with yourself to see that you won't mess up. That would be like a very prideful confidence. And obviously, like, that prideful confidence comes from, there's no trial, right? There's no challenge you've had to overcome. And the confidence that comes, like a humble confidence, comes after the trials, after the challenge, after an enduring process that ended up strengthening you. So that passage I just read, right? He's talking, you've gone through persecution, you've had stuff stolen from you, you've been beaten, but look, you got God on your side, and He has proven to you that He's been there for you. All right. And so you can come away stronger knowing that whatever else is coming down the road, He's got you through that, because you can look back and you say, He's got me, He's got me this far. Right. And so that's something I hope that we can adopt in the Christian, uh just being Christians, is sharing this message of, hey man, we got we got a lot of great things. I mean, chief among them, eternal life, amen. Um, we got peace, we got contentment, we got purpose, absolute love, joy. But something else we got is we got confidence. We have absolute assurance in God that He's going to get us through what He throws at us, what comes at us. Um, excuse me, man. These things make my throat dry. Sorry, but yeah. So um, this brings me to Donda. I've been wanting to talk about this album, but I haven't done a podcast, and that's what I do here. I talk about things that happened 6 months ago because I didn't do a podcast about it, and then I don't know. Let's hope that isn't a recurring trend. But anyways, so Donda, the latest album from Kanye West, actually the second latest. I think he had released Donda 2, but I want to hone in here on Donda. Absolutely great album. I really can't recommend this album enough. I think it's one of the best albums I've ever heard before, really, in my life. And the spiritual component of this album is just, it's really, it's present, but it doesn't throw it in your face. Kanye has been very outspoken the last couple years about his faith, about how he's not going to waver on that, and he's been very bold about it. We'll see how he does in the years to come. We do hope that he does well, and we pray for him to do well. But um, But yeah, so Donda comes, and it is the best way I can describe it in a sentence or two is it is an encapsulation, a nutshell of the Christian life. That's what it is, really. And when I say the word life, I mean it in all honesty, right? These are not like these really just sorry, but poorly done Christian movies where you have these characters who are just, you know, they're not characters, they're caricatures. They're like nothing's gone wrong in their lives and they're like the perfect person or um, you know, you show this one character who has these, just so coincidental flaws and then they just so happen to do well. This is not that. It's Kanye West, struggling through heartbreak. It's struggling through the loss of his mother. He was very close with his mother and he loved his mother very much and he's struggling through that and he's having to deal with people always calling him crazy. People always have an opinion on what he can and cannot do. His desire to be a free thinker, an independent thinker, and then whenever he goes outside of the bounds of the accepted, cultural far left leaning dogma, he gets scorned for it. And he's trying to figure out his way through that. He's also trying to figure out his way through love and through joy. And all of these aspects of life, the bad and the good, are all portrayed just absolutely beautifully on this album. And and you know what? That theme, confidence, it shows up on the album. I mean, one of the hardest songs is that song Praise God, right? Like when Kanye comes in, that hard beat and he's like, "Sir, flex I do work." You like that? You like that little falsetto I just did? It's so hard, bro. Like you turn the bass up, you turn it up and you want to put on your sunglasses, you wanna put on a fur coat, you wanna be walking with a cane, son, you feel me? Like, it's hard, dude, and and you just feel confident, right? You're listening to it, it's a great walk-up song, whatever, it's this powerful song, and so I think Kanye West just did it so well where he's saying, like, "Look, the reality of life is you're gonna suffer loss, you're gonna suffer hate, but you're gonna suffer love, and uh, you're gonna suffer love. LOL. Love it. Sometimes you do gotta suffer for love. Amen. You get to experience love. You get to experience joy. And you know what? Throughout the whole time, God is there, right? You listen to the lyrics in each and every song, and you get the sense God is there. Sometimes he really throws it at you and how God helped him through a certain way, or where God is at in his life in this particular moment. And other times you get the sense that he's in the background, right? Things are going on, but you get this idea like God is there. God is there. He's there even in the small quiet moments. He's there. And and yeah, you get the confidence from that. And so in case you're curious, my favorite song from that album is Come to Life. It's just I I kid you not. I got emotional the first time I listened to it, even a few times after that. Is one of the best songs, the piano, the the production, and that's another thing. This album is just a production masterpiece. Um, and another cool thing. This is not really related to anything I said, but just something I wanted to bring up about this album is Kanye West. He brings all of these artists in on his album. And a lot of these guys, if you have listened to their music outside of this album, they they glorify, objectifying women, killing people, doing drugs, selling drugs, just absolute degeneracy, things that you should not listen to, things you should not glorify. Um, but he brought all these artists in, and there's like not a single cuss word in this song, right? And if you wanted to, you could you could have, children listening to this, not very young children, but I would say, you know, like preteen children listening to this, maybe even a little younger, and they they would be fine for the most part. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's like they're not going to be getting bad messages from this album at all, at all. So bring um how did Kanye West bring all of these just terrible these people who proclaim terrible messages into this album and create something beautiful where the message was beautiful and the message was powerful and it's inspiring and inspires confidence? Well, Kanye West, he was such or he is such a genius in his field that he has gotten so much respect from that alone, right? And he has such a track record from that alone. But then he also has, a lot of notoriety, a lot of connections, and he has helped a lot of people. And so that is to say, his status got him to where all these artists came in and they said, you know what? I usually make degenerate music, but for you, Kanye, I'm going to make good music, right? They respected him enough, and I think in a certain way we get a little bit of an idea of Christ right there, right? Like Christ brings in the sin of the world. He brings all of the nastiness, the hate, the murder, envy, um, pride, lust. He brings all of that sin and he takes it upon himself. And then because he is God, he can take it upon himself. He has the authority to take it upon himself and do with it what he wants. And what he wanted to do with that was to save us from that punishment and then redeem us. And with Kanye, right, he had the authority in the music industry and the entertainment industry to say, all of this degeneracy that y'all spout, come to my album, and you ain't come to my album with that, and it's not gonna fly. You 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 gotta bring it, leave it at the door, and we're gonna make something beautiful. And he redeems their artwork, he redeems their craft into something beautiful, something powerful, and an incredibly spiritual, an incredibly beautiful album, something that's just an absolute uplifting experience. And I think that's kind of cool. That this is not like, are you? I don't. I'm not reading I'm not reading the comments, but you might say like, Trevor, are you calling Kanye West? Are you calling Kanye West Jesus Christ? Huh? No. What I'm saying is, if the pinnacle of goodness and of love, if there exists such a thing, and if what Christ did on the cross achieved that, which I think it is, um, then anything that really emulates the truth, anything that really emulates love, anything that really emulates goodness is going to echo that. Right? It's not going to be the same thing, but it's going to echo that. So that's why I think it makes sense for Kanye, who has been living his faith out very boldly, to have made this wonderful album where he has redeemed a lot of artists and the artwork of a lot of these artists into something beautiful. So that's what I have to say about that. Let's see. I'm gonna move on. I think I think it's about time to move on. Oh, you know what? No, sorry. I want to say something else about confidence. This is a live stream. Y'all are here for a party, right? All five, all five of my viewers, y'all are here for a party, right? Anyways, back. I want to say one more thing about this idea of confidence and responsibility, because when you embark on the Christian life, something that you figure out right away is that it is really, really hard. Why? Because each and every one of us are very, very sinful. And when you get confronted by that sin and you see it for what it is, sometimes, or a lot of times, you want to shrink back. Sometimes you want to just outright deny it. But what we're called to do is to admit our sin to God and to offer that up to Him, which is it's a really hard thing to do. It's a lot harder than it sounds. Um, for him to redeem that. But anyways, the life is really hard as you try to grow in becoming holier, to grow to become more like Christ. You have to die to yourself, you know. Christ called us to take up our cross and to follow him. And there's a reason why he said take up your cross, because it's going to feel like dying, because he went on a cross and he died. It's going to feel like dying when you're doing these hard things. But let me tell you something. When you when you experience the freedom from sin, and I talked about this, I would really encourage you, if you're listening now and you haven't listened to my previous podcast, go check that out. So I won't get too into it right now, but when you experience that freedom from sin, it is just such a just a peaceful, freeing feeling, and it gives a lot of joy and confidence, right? Like, um I'm not going to get into it too deep, but for me, I've been a Christian. I've really been a Christian very seriously for the last few years. And um and when I became a Christian a few years ago, um I I didn't I had no idea what I was in for. And having now been a Christian for a few years, I have a little bit to look back on. Not a lot, but a little bit. And there have been some things that I have tried very hard to work on about myself. And after a few years, I'm just now starting to see some progress on. And I look back to who I was, to how I was before that, and I think, like, wow, you know, that I'm so glad that I am where I'm at. And I'm so, like, it was painful to go through that process, right? To take up my cross, and I'm not saying I did it well. I did it, just so terribly and clumsily. But I it's absolutely wonderful. And what is something that I needed to do? What is something that Christ calls us to do, um, to grow in sanctification? And that's to take on the responsibility. It's like, hey, be responsible for the ways that you are sinful. You know what? Take ownership of each and every one of those things, because if you don't take ownership of it, there's no way to get past it at all. There's no way to heal from it. There's no way to seek forgiveness. There's no way to improve. So you have to take responsibility. And I think when you have that responsibility, and then when you start to see the fruits of that responsibility, it's a wonderful thing, and it inspires a lot of confidence. And I really think that that's a message that Christians should be pushing. And it's a conservative message too. Like, accept responsibility, take ownership of what you do. That's a very conservative message. So I really hope that um, that's something that we can spread. You know, it's like, I don't know all the PR, I don't know all the marketing behind it, but to spread the message of, you know what? I worked really hard, like the rappers I brought up earlier. They're grinding, right? And then they went through it, and then they see the success, and then the art that they create out of that, baller stuff, confidence, right? Let's stick to that message, because like I said, it's our culture is just really not a fan of confidence, love to dig on yourself. And the whole, like, um, you know, like the memes of like, oh, I'm depressed, ha ha ha, or I'm anxious, ha ha. Now, I'm the first one to laugh at those. I love them. They're great. But it's like, okay, let's let's not be glorifying that. Let's work on it. Okay, let's laugh at it, sure, but let's work on it. Let's take responsibility. Let's put in the hard work, and let's get through it. Okay, so did I say confidence enough? Did I mention that? Okay, no, I wasn't sure. All right, that's the buzzword of the day. I should just name this live stream confidence. That's just what it is. No other context at all. Okay, let's move on. So let's see. I'm going to talk about Batman for a minute. So let's see. I can go. Okay, some of these comments are a little older. I'm gonna look through a few of these, and then I'll devote time to 7 people. This is, like, amazing. I love this, but, I'm gonna devote some legitimate time to comments here in a little bit. Um, let's see. All hail the savior of the world. Amen. Fall on your sword. Yeah, LOTF. We'll get to it. Grind set. That's right. Um, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah, Seth, good one. I feel like society promotes confidence, but obviously it's completely misguided. I think it's the pride, right? It's the prideful confidence. It's like you're let me get my words here in order. It's like you don't have to work hard. You could just indulge whatever desire you have and accept that desire and feed it as much as you are. That's who you are, and it's like there's no hard work in that, and I think my last podcast spoke to that pretty good. It's back there. My last podcast spoke pretty well to that. It's like just because it's natural doesn't mean it's good, and and putting restrictions, putting limitations, putting boundaries on ourselves actually does lead to flourishing, and and right, that's hard work. That's taking responsibility. But like I said, once you get through it, confidence, man, boldness, and peace and contentment and just joy. It's wonderful. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay, so I got to give real quick before I move on to Batman. Josh, what's up? Got to give Phoebe a shout out. Of course, I got to give Phoebe a shout out. The little rat in the family from back home. 5 dogs. She's the littlest one. Biggest personality, though. She is the queen. She demands everyone to serve her. Um, by what authority? I don't know. She just banks on being cute. That's her authority. And it works more often than it should. That's my hot take. Okay. All right. Shout out to Phoebe. Love you, Phoebe. All right. Batman. Cool. We're gonna spend a little bit of time talking about it. Look, I think it was a cool film. It was a cool film. Let me know what you think. Those of you who saw it, like to see um, some comments on what you thought about it. Feel free to drop a few sentences. I don't want to see like good. Tell me what you thought. But yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. Um, the I think the beauty of this movie is that it really forces you as a viewer to consider what justice and corruption mean. And I think it's something that the Batman himself really wrestles with because he's not very outspoken in the ideology against the Riddler. He's outspoken against how he's carrying out his ideology, but it's like the Riddler saying, "Look, there's all this corruption, and it's not just empty promises, but it's people reversing their promises, and then the harmful effects, right? Like the drugs and the poverty is just riddled throughout Gotham because of these really, really corrupt politicians." Um, yeah, I just love how the Joker was cut out because he would have stolen the show. Absolutely right. Barry Kagan, I think that's how you say it. Amazing. Um, and then okay, so let's see. Back on track here. So what is it that the Riddler did that was wrong, right? Like I mean, these politicians, they're putting on the face of justice, and then they are participating in, we're going to use that word again, a degenerate lifestyle where they're using drugs, they're propping up, or they're benefiting off of the drug use throughout the city. They're doing deals with criminals, um, and they're looking a blind eye on crime, especially like the Penguin. He's a real heavy hand in pushing drugs and all that, and they don't say much. In fact, they help out. And so it's like, in some ways I could kind of relate with where the Riddler's coming from, right? It's like, man, these people are corrupt, and they're the ones who are supposed to execute justice. So who's going to execute justice on him? Like, who- how's that going to work? And it's really tough. It's really tough. But I do think that the movie gives a little bit of an answer. You see, the Batman, he struggles with this question too. Like I said, he's not very vocal about the ideology. And there's a few moments throughout the film where he almost seems to sympathize with the Riddler and trying to expose all of this corruption, right? Um, but but the answer in why the Riddler was wrong, and I'm not presuming that people think he's right. Obviously, he's a villain. We all know that he's wrong. But the reason why he's wrong in carrying out, it's not even justice. It's a perverted justice. The reason why it's wrong to carry out perverted justice was shown with that scene with Carmine Falcone, because this was the best opportunity for the Riddler to execute good justice, right? He called the Batman to bring Falcone into the light, and really cool little biblical theme there, right? The light, right? Yeah, Jesus is the light. Amen. That's where justice is. God is justice. Amen. Anyways, so Falcone comes into the light, and that's when the corruption is finally exposed, right? He is the rat that is brought to the light, and um, but then what happens? The Riddler is so self-obsessed. He is so in his own. He is so caught up in himself, thinking that his way is the right way, and and the reason why we can tell that he's so self-obsessed is because he can't stand to let proper justice um, carry out. He needs the spotlight back on him. So what does he do? He shoots Falcone, and it's sad, right? Because right when we think that one, corruption is exposed, but not in a perverted way, and justice is about to be done, right? Because they open the doors, and we see all these cops who, you know, um, Gordon says, there's still some good cops here, or something like that. And there's all these good cops who have not fallen away from the corruption, and so we think justice can actually be served, but then the Riddler takes him out, and that is the crux of why the Riddler was wrong. Like I said, we know that he was wrong, but why was he wrong? And it's because he went he tried to execute justice from a very selfish perspective, and that's what it comes down to. Um, when you try to execute justice from a very selfish perspective, justice gets perverted, and it's more so wrath and pride that shine through rather than justice itself. Um, okay, another. Oh yeah, so here's something else that I thought was really really cool. So like I said, if I'm a Christian, so I got to bring Jesus into this. Um, so if the highest act of goodness, of love, of truth is what Jesus did on the cross, and because God is the highest, He is good. He is love, right? He's truth. Then we should expect things that are good and love and truth and beautiful too. We should expect those things to echo the story of Jesus, because he is the pinnacle. He is the ideal that the rest of the stories shoot towards, shoot at. No, I don't know. They aim at it, right? Got to get my analogies right here. Um, so I think this is a really good example, and there's great examples throughout hero films. Some of these films are terrible. Some of these get great examples of a like a figurement of Christ, right? They kind of echo the story of Christ, and I think this Batman is no exception of that. So my favorite scene of the movie was, and this is a really big spoiler, by the way. I should have given a spoiler warning before this, so sorry if you haven't seen the movie. But hey, you know what? It's been out for a while. It's your fault. So my favorite scene is when the Batman he's on top of the what is it called, like the rafters, um not the attic, but you know, you guys, the top of the building, the stadium, if you will, when he's up there, and he's fighting off all the goons of the Riddler, and it seems like he won, right? Although the new politician got shot, it seems like he finally beat the Riddler and his goons. But what happens is you have all that water that came flooding into the stadium, and you have these people that get trapped right from the water. And excuse me, oh my gosh, as my grandma would just say, excuse me, I just belched. That's what you get with a live stream. All right. Um, so these folks are in a state of imminent death. Even the newly elected mayor, who is supposed to bring in, you know, order and justice, and supposed to set things right. Her and everyone else is in this position of imminent death, where they're about to be drowned because they're trapped from, you know, the building collapsing in and the water rushing in. And to add fuel to the flame, there's this huge electrical wire hanging down, and it's about to hit the water, and these people are going to be toast, you know, if that thing hits the water. And Batman, in a very heroic sacrifice fashion, jumps onto the wire, takes death, if you will, right? That wire would bring death onto all of those people. He takes death onto himself, doesn't know if he's going to live or not, severs it, severs the power of death, right? He falls, he's into the water. You think he died, and then he comes back out, by almost as if by a miracle, and they don't explain it. It's a miracle not to be explained. And he comes out of the water almost as if like a baptism. And what does he do? He reaches into those who were in the depths of death, in imminent death, lights the flare, right? He brings light to the darkness, and he leads them out of death. What a beautiful, um, emulation of the story of Christ, where Christ takes sin onto himself, and sin leads to death. Let me explain that real quick. I want to make sure that, even if you're not a Christian, you could understand this. Where you take sin, sin leads to death. Why? Because sin goes against God, and God is life, and he sustains life, he gives life. And so if we're going against God, then by definition we're going against life. And if we choose sin, if we don't choose God, if we choose sin, we're choosing death. So Jesus takes sin onto himself. He dies on the cross, and because he's God, because he has that power, by a miracle that we don't understand, he goes into death. And the traditions throughout the church have said that those few days between the death on the cross and his resurrection, it wasn't immediate, right? Those few days in between, he actually descends into the underworld, and he rescues the captives in Hades and releases them, brings them into life. And so, yeah, that's the story. And he offers life to those who follow him. And there we see the Batman taking death onto himself by some unexplainable miracle, comes out of it, and he leads those facing death into life. Beautiful story. And the thing that makes it even cooler is that you have this idea of renewal, right? That's the phrase that they call renewal. And sorry, I'm smiling because that's just a funny work joke. My coworkers will laugh at that word renewal, but no, it's in the movie. Renewal. It's this. What is it? $100 million, $1 billion? I don't even know. Some insane amount of money devoted to saving the city. And the issue is when you want to solve problems like poverty and crime and drug addiction, these things that are massively complicated and deep and pervasive, you can't just buy your way into a solution. It just won't work. What you need is you need sacrifice, and that's what the politicians, right? Bruce Wayne's father, who tried the renewal program, that's what they didn't understand. They tried to buy it and it failed, and it led to all of this corruption because they tried to use their power, and there was no sacrifice. And with no sacrifice, you have all this temptations to um, to pervert the power, to corrupt their positions, and you have all these corrupt politicians, corrupt police officers, and the whole system just is rife throughout the whole institutions, the legal institutions, um, institutions plural. You get what I mean. Um, but but the hope comes when there's sacrifice, and Batman um, takes on that sacrifice, and then he comes out. He leads, right. He leads the people out of death. Leads the new mayor out of death, and this new mayor, she is the one who is actually saying the final speech that she gives is quite interesting, right? Like she talks about we need to have faith and and trust and love, right? And she says it way more eloquently. I can't remember what she said, but that's the beautiful thing is after the sacrifice comes faith, right? And that's a Christian story, right? After sacrifice, you put faith, you put faith um, in that sacrifice, and there's redemption. So the movie ends before we could see any sort of redemption. We don't know how successful right, the politicians or the new mayor or Batman is afterwards. We will be getting a sequel, I guess, so I'm excited. But I mean, you got to keep in mind, we can't just play this out to a T to the Christian story, right? It's a heroes movie, so we're going to be seeing villains, and it's a secular movie at the end of the day, so we can't have our expectations too high. But anyways, there is my analysis of the Batman. Really good uh, Christ figure, Christological, as we would say, Christological figures of Christ in there. Um, so let's see here. Okay, I'm so sorry that I'm not following the chat here. Um, let's see. Pattinson did great. He's the only one who showed me what Batman goes through in a day. Yeah, I've always hated how Batman seems so burdened by his job. I'm like, great, then just stay in your mansion. Yeah, yeah, good, good stuff right there. Um, and then Seth looks like Carmine Falcone. Uh, yeah, I think that's just a person of ambiguous color joke. Was that an anti-Poac joke? Um, let's see. I love the acting in this film. Yeah, it's great acting. Um, I still think the Riddler did a good job. Um, and then let's see. And also the Penguin. What a performance by what's his name? Colin Farrell. Ooh, man, awesome. What a performance. Yeah, someone get this man a gallon. I need a gallon tumbler. I really do. Mouth gets dry up here. All right, sorry. You guys are probably commenting now. Okay. My expectations of superhero movies are never too high. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Okay, we got a little bit of time left. Speaking of movies, also would like to talk about probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Um, while I'm talking about this, now I invite you, if you have a movie in mind that you think is just absolutely the worst, would love to hear that. I'll go over that here in a minute. But um, so The movie that I'm talking about is Marry Me with Owen Wilson and J-Lo. I apologize if well, actually, I don't apologize, but if you watched it and you liked it, I'm sorry, but I just have to strongly and vehemently disagree with you. It was unbelievably bad. First of all, the acting was just not good. It was not good. J-Lo has not been a good actress. I don't think she's a great actress at all. She's talented singer and what else does she do? Dance? I guess she dances fine. I don't know. I don't watch her stuff. But Owen Wilson, I was kind of hopeful. Some of his comedies are pretty solid, and he's a funny guy, so I was a little hopeful for that. And um, let me see that. Let me say this, Trevor. Why would you go watch a rom com? That doesn't sound that doesn't sound like you at all. And I agree. I agree. But let me explain myself here. Um, I was seeing the ads for this movie, and I thought that they could actually take this in a good direction. And the idea was this woman just, out of a super impulse decision, just decides to marry this rando, right? She's like this famous woman, and then she marries this guy. And I think, um, okay, hold on, I have to stop my train of thought. My mother just said that Talladega Nights is the worst movie banned. How do I block people from this? Can I kick you? Oh, I actually can, but I'm not going to do that because I am just so benevolent. I'm just so good that I will forgive you as Christ calls me to do. I will forgive you. Um, but I ain't a doormat either. All right. Anyways, no, I all good fun. So yeah, so I thought this movie could actually go in a good direction because you have this famous woman who just impulse decides to marry this guy because the man she was about to marry totally fumbled the bag, and so she just impulse marries this guy. And here's what I thought, and this is where you could say, Trevor, you're doing why on earth would you hold a Hollywood movie to this high of a standard? And to that I say, you got me. But let me tell you where I was going with this. I thought this could be a good opportunity to show that, hey, maybe this woman who's super, let's be honest here, very beautiful, very famous, um, very wealthy, very, very skilled in her craft, can come down in an act of humility and initiate a relationship with a man who, let's be honest, he's not a looker. Okay. I, I, I seldom do I judge, but it's for purposes of analyzing the movie, right? This kind of average guy, and they allude to that in the movie. But anyways, and they're very different, right? He's like a school teacher, very humble means that he comes from, and I thought it could be a good story of the woman becoming humble and ultimately showing that actually what it takes in a marriage is effort, right? It takes effort, it takes sacrifice, and it takes forgiveness, it takes compromise, um, and that's what I was hoping for. And I was like, okay, I'll watch this rom-com to see if they deliver on that because no, I mean our culture is like you should let your feelings dictate this, right? Like people choose their partners based off of feelings first rather than um, values second, and um, or they choose partners based off feelings rather than values, or at least they put values second, and then um, and then throughout the relationship, the culture will just tell you like, hey, just dump them if you're not feeling it anymore, or um, just like the really shallow advice like really like popularizing divorce, like as if divorce can be just an easy way out. So I thought this movie could be a really good like pie in the face to that. Boy, was I wrong. And this is where I tell you that this movie was so bad that I didn't even make it through an hour of it. I got to about 50, 55 minutes and I said, I can't take it anymore. Trevor, how do you know? Maybe it ended on a good note. I don't care. No movie that sets itself up for the first half that terribly can redeem itself. It's just I don't know. It's not possible. And maybe you could say, well, with God, nothing's impossible. And to that, I say, I don't know if God was in this movie. Let's be honest here. The the thing that was, I'm just going to give you two moments because I don't want to harp on this too long. But two moments that I thought were just absolutely terrible. Owen Wilson's character is like, they're at a press conference and they're like, how could you guys do this? Make this decision and what's the thinking behind this? And Owen Wilson comes, his character's like, wow, well, back in olden times, they're like, people were property and it was a transaction. Marriage was a transaction. I have a heifer and you have some land. Let's get together and put our family's resources together. That's my Owen Wilson impersonation. And he's like, this time we're thinking, it's not a transaction. Let's just see where it goes, see how we feel. And I'm like, does this guy not, did he not ever meet a couple from like this guy's grandparents? I don't know. I've never met traditional, like older folks where their marriage was quote unquote transactional. And, this is where I can drop my expertise. All right. I'm going to sprinkle it in there like Salt Bay. Okay. I was a history major. Okay. And from what I understand about, uh, my specialization was early American history. From what I understand, these marriages were not transactional. Okay, they were not. There was the the best thing about these marriages is that these people understood that they had a shared value system, a shared community, and that was the strength of their relationship. Mainly that it was on God first and foremost, and that they could come together with the shared values, and then through that, they could work out whatever complications and whatnot. And also it's like if you just read the church Christianity's position on marriage throughout the centuries, which let's just keep this discussion to Western culture. It's just so far from a transactional. I mean, maybe the royalty back then was transactional, but that's really it. Just really, it was terrible. And he was a math teacher. Like, you're a math teacher, okay? Let me share how I really feel. Um, and then something else that was just absolutely awful was J Lo's character. It was so bad because the movie wanted to tee up this moment like like it was some like profound thing to say. And she said like what did she say? She's like, marriage marriage is like riding a bicycle. Or no, this is what she said. Marriage is like a math problem. When you don't get the right answer the first time, you try again. Like the music, right? There's like a sparkle in her eye. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, where are you going with this? And she goes, so that's why I've been this is my fourth marriage. Bro, you could have said, right? Like you could have said, the issue that you're facing in your marriage is the math problem that you're stuck on. So you try the issue again and you stay devoted to this person because you made a promise to them. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna move on. I'm just gonna push that out there. Um, yeah, it was yeah. So one of my coworkers, Trevor, was raving about this scene at work. That's absolutely right. Really grinds my gears, and it makes so much sense because there was a song that this character recorded, and the like it was like this upbeat dance, like I love myself dance, and that's great. But then she says the line is she's like, I've had all these failed relationships, and then I realize I'm the love of my life. And it's like, yeah, like, I'm sorry, but no wonder you've had four marriages because you've always put yourself first. You've seen the problem of being the other person. And you said, this problem is too big. I'm putting myself first. But in reality, The problem is not the other person. It's just what you're dealing with. You're partners. You confront the problem together. You are not opposed. You're not fighting each other. All right. I need to stop because I feel very hypocritical in this because I'm a single man. Hint, wink, wink. Um, sup, ladies? Just saying. No, but like, there's only so much advice I can give from just what I've heard from married people and the role models in my life. So hopefully, I'll have better insight when cuffing season comes around for me. When will that be? Lord knows. All right. You know what? Oh my goodness, we are at an hour and 10 minutes. Okay. So I have a couple other things I can talk about, but we're at an hour and 10 minutes. We got 7 folks here. Chat's really popping off. Um, let's see, gonna read some chats here. Um, that's right. Black pilled. LOL. Um, Justice for Carol. I don't know. She went after Talladega Nights. We'll have to see how my dad feels about that. Um, yeah, Nina, thank you very much for that. Let's see. Is there any? I'm looking for questions right now. There's my mom. I love it. Right, like a small time live streamer, and my mother's here to support me. Love my family. Absolutely love my family and their support. And I don't know if that sounded condescending or sarcastic. I did not mean it that way. Okay, I will give you Talladega Nights fair and change it to. So you changed it to something worse, Mom. You said the worst movie is not Talladega Nights, it's Anchorman 2. Sorry, here's the knife that you just wedged into my back. All right. Okay. All right. So I don't know. Give me if we want to move on to I don't know, we got 9 people here. It's a party. If you want to move on to like questions or your comments, what you think, I want to hear your thoughts and stuff. We can do that. I do have a couple other things I can talk about. Man digs a hole. The Megan Fox drinking the blood with Machine Gun Kelly. Did you hear about that? What? That's something you want to hear about. Let's do a brief intermission where you could load your comments and I can take a drink of some more water. Humble admission, my throat does get dry a lot, but sometimes I take a drink of water because I need to get my thoughts in order, and it's the perfect amount of time for me to figure out what to say next. All right. Drinking MGK's blood. So there's one vote for that. Please get a tumbler with a straw. Yeah, you don't. I'm sure you guys are enjoying me slurping on it. All right. So we got the blood thing. So let's talk about it. So if you look up on the internet like Megan Fox blood MGK, like it'll come up. So what happened was I think a few months ago she like just so like nonchalantly, just very like matter of fact, oh yeah, after we got engaged, we drank each other's blood or something like that. And people were like, wait a second, what was that? And the internet has been demanding answers rightfully, because they were shocked to find out that people in Hollywood are satanic. I I never saw it. I was just flabbergasted when I heard of that. Um, but no, so she came out in an interview, I think what was it, like a day or two ago, and she said, "Oh, for clarification, we don't actually drink each other's blood. It's like just a few drops for ritual purposes." And like, and then there's another thing. She says, "For ritual purposes." It's like we're just gonna comb over that real quick, like like you didn't just say that. Um, yeah. So stay sane, my friends. Yeah, like don't. Yeah. Okay. What's going on in the chat? We got water and a carrot. I don't know what that drop and a carrot. Yeah. This man. get this man an Unreal, absolutely. Um, yeah, it's really bizarre and it's really strange. And it's like these people are starting to be more open about their weird cult practices that they do. And I don't know, like I don't really have a lot of thoughts on it other than look, it's this is probably the pretty mild stuff compared to what really goes on with a lot of these Hollywood folks. So don't be surprised if you hear more. But something that I was thinking about was like Megan Fox, who has made a career on just being an extremely attractive individual. I mean, is her acting that good? Well, I heard, what was it, Jennifer's Body? I heard that was good. I haven't seen it, but she might have a few gems. But I'm a fan of Transformers, so I'll give her that. But it's like, makes a career out of being very attractive. Let's be honest here. And and then she comes out just very openly, like, yeah, I drink, or we do these rituals where we consume each other's blood. And she even said that MGK is like willing to like slice his chest with a blade, what was it, like a piece of glass, and like consume my soul, he said. And she has to tame him from doing that. But does she? I don't know. Um, but the thing I was thinking about was like she's into this ritualistic stuff, and then, she said that her 9-year-old, I think it was her son, is trans or cross dresses, and so she lets him do that. And then also, she said that she had the intuition that, her son was non-binary. So who would how did that happen where she said her son was non-binary even from the womb, and it just turned out he wanted to start cross-dressing? That's almost as if she did that to him and he didn't come up with that on his own. Wonder how that works. But the mark of a really selfish person. And so, something that I kind of worry about with her, as she has crept back into the spotlight more and more the last couple of years. She kind of drifted out for a while, but as she's come back, is I wonder if she's going to take on this figure of like this, like sort of, I don't mean this word to be strange, but like this seductress, like this very seductive kind of evil thing. And that's something that I worry about, because like let's be honest here, we got to see things through a spiritual lens. We know as Christians that we live in a spiritual world, and that there are spiritual forces constantly at work. And we have to understand that the devil does offer these things that are really beautiful, that seem really beautiful, but they're not on the inside, right? But they seem beautiful, but ultimately they're ugly and they're perverse, and they're really selfish, right? Like Megan Fox, like to put this on her child, and to just assume that the practices that she's doing with MGK is like fine, totally accepted. And do you think MGK, like if you know anything about MGK's personality, he's a rapper, rock star, by the way. If you know anything about him, do you think he's the one who really initiated this? I don't get the sense that he was. I think it was all Make Fox. And like I've heard, just throughout the years, I've heard actors talk about Megan Fox, and they've said that she's a really intelligent person. She's not like this kind of dimwit pretty girl. She seems to have some intelligence, and that is something that, again, I worry is if she's going to start to become this sort of seductress figure, because the devil, he offers you something that you think is beautiful, that appears to be beautiful, something that you want. And then also he does it in a very crafty way that you can't think of the devil as dumb or unsophisticated. The devil is very intelligent. He was the highest ranking angel before he fell. You're not in the highest of the hierarchy, being a dummy. So um I don't know. I don't know how that plays out in the culture. I don't know how, what that means for the messages that she is going to keep spreading. if her fame continues to increase from here on out. But yeah, I mean, I would say watch out for her. Watch out for her being this you know, kind of seductive, evil figure. Um, so, and it's sad because I was a really big fan of Transformers, and we want to see the cast from Transformers doing well. What was his name? John Voight. He was in Transformers. He's crushing it. Shia LaBeouf. He's made good movies. Questionable in some of the things he's doing, but I think he's made some great movies. Phenomenal actor, I think. Um, but anyways, let's see. Love or yeah, love yourself. I think I know who this is. Um, and MGK is in the patriarchy. Yeah, absolute beta male cuck energy, for sure. MGK doesn't give off straight edge vibes. No, he doesn't. Think twice before indulging. Absolutely, she is the forbidden fruit. Yes, yes, yeah. Very good application. The forbidden fruit. Um, let's see what is was okay. I've seen this question a couple times. Was Kanye in the right for attacking Skeet on social media? Let me get back to that. Let me see. Um, yeah, all three of her sons wear girl clothes. Yeah, you would think if if it was just up to her kids, like she probably claims, you would think at least one of them would choose um, yeah, a more masculine form. Technically, a wedding is a ritual. Yeah, no, that's very true. So rituals themselves certainly aren't bad. You know, like church is a ritual. Like you said, weddings are a ritual. It's what is the ritual um, lifting up? What is the ritual praising? And in this case, I think it's the self. You know, because like I said, you know, I think Megan Fox is showing a lot of selfish behaviors, and that's what Satanism really is. When you kind of listen to what Satanists say and what they really believe, it's not so much that they worship this devil figure. It's more so that they worship the self, and the devil loves that. He did that. You know, there's a chapter, was it in Elijah, where kind of talks about the fall of Satan, and it's because he loved himself too much, right? He loved himself too much, and he wanted to serve himself too much. Definitely, self love, serving. Not to say you can't do that and shouldn't do that. It's just it can definitely go overboard and have terrible consequences for sure. Um, let's say let's see here. Okay, so was Kanye in the right for attacking Skeet on social media? Three questions in a row. Um, I don't know. I really don't know. I think he really should have. I think the best way to do it would have been to try to solve it privately first, um, and then maybe go public if nothing's going on. Because here's the thing: Kanye is just because he loves his family. I don't think he wanted to divorce Kim, and he really loves his kids, and I think he understands the terrible effects that divorce has on kids, and I'm sure he just wanting to protect his kids, and so you know, all of these big moves that he makes and these freakouts he's been having are really just manifestations of the love that he has for his kids, and sometimes I don't think that they're the wisest, but I'll be honest with you. I'm not a father, and hopefully that'll change someday. But I'm not a father, so I have no idea what I would do if I was in his shoes. You know, would I be tempted to lash out in that way? Probably, and would I? Maybe. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'd be good enough to be wise in that and do the best thing. I have no confidence in myself as to what I do. But you know, I think that the sad part is people not recognizing just that where Kanye is coming from is just an absolute love and protection for his kids. Um, but I mean, I certainly understand the idea of going public if nothing's happening. You know, and maybe he did keep it private for a while. I'm sure he kind of did, but um, if it's like he's trying to make progress and reconcile with Kim, he's trying to protect his kids from this crusty man named Skeet. Uh, you know, yeah, I totally get if nothing's happening, if no progress is being made, then sure, shout it from the rooftops, expose these people for how bad as bad as they are. Um, and then Yeah, so you know what? We're at an hour and 25 minutes. I really appreciate everyone being here, taking time out of your evenings to be here. Really, you guys, all of you guys are just wonderful, just very beautiful, attractive, full people who deserve wonderful things in your lives, and you deserve just nothing but wonderfulness. And so I really, really appreciate all of you guys coming. So I I did say there was going to be a Q and A time. So let's do it. I mean, if you want to hop off, totally get it. Um, but yeah, I mean, if there's anything that I said that you think you'd like some um, clarification on, I have been doing this podcast a little bit off the cuff, so I'd be happy to clarify some things or just some random questions. Till then, I let's see, another drink of water. Definitely need that here. I'll block the mic. Okay. Trevcast IRL. Is that supposed to mean in real life? I don't know if that's how Tim Pool means it. My testimony. Yeah, I mean, let's see. Okay, so we have to I did do a pretty long video on this a couple years ago. But yeah, I'll be happy to share. So what I'll say is from the time from now until I finish sharing my testimony, I'll do kind of a brief version of it. Um, Feel free to drop questions in the chat. Um, let's see where to begin. Um, so let me start with kind of who what I was before I became a Christian. Like before I became a Christian, I was really into science and I really wanted to be an astrophysicist. I was like totally in with like following Neil deGrasse Tyson and what's his name, Mikio Kaku, what's his name, Stephen Lawrence, or no, Lawrence Krauss. Yeah, Lawrence Krauss. Um, all those guys, all those like real science popularizers and all that good stuff. And because I love science so much and I looked up to these guys, a lot of them are atheists. And so I kind of made a faulty assumption in thinking because these guys are so respected in their field, they're charismatic and they're intelligent people. They must be right about this atheism thing. So they convinced me pretty easily. And it's not anything that my parents did at all. It's just I made a conscious effort to believe in atheism and nobody in my family or in my friends encouraged me to do that at all. um that was a conscious decision on my part. And then and so let's see where to go from there. I I'll be honest with you. I thought Christianity was kind of dumb. I really did have that new atheism mindset of like just very dismissive towards Christians, and I thought it was really just a crutch. I didn't think that there was any intellectual backbone to Christianity really at all. And so that's where I was at, and I I didn't connect it at the time, um, but that worldview is very, very hollow and very shallow, and it's very unfulfilling because it. I really don't think that there's a coherent answer to if there is no God, then what's the point of it all. I don't really think. I think if there is no God, then the nihilism is the logical explanation, which is like there's no point. Do whatever you want. Do whatever makes you feel good. And that kind of ideology bore down on me. I didn't necessarily live it out because I do think my parents did a really good job of still raising me on good morals. Um, so um, so their work throughout my life kept me from really feeding into an atheistic mindset. So I really am just very grateful for that. But um, so so number one, I just want you to know that I thought Christianity was dumb, but then I was also feeling like yeah, my worldview is very very hollow. I was feeling the effects. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was feeling the effects. So fast forward to going to Berkeley. Really, really interesting story. I didn't want to go to Berkeley. I wanted actually to go to UC San Diego, and I was like, Berkeley's full of liberals and all that. But then I got accepted to Berkeley, and Berkeley was second in the world, only to MIT in astrophysics, and I got accepted to go study astrophysics with them. And I was like, you know what? If it's that great of a school, I gotta just buckle up, take my licks, and get this prestigious education in astrophysics. So I went, and so I didn't think I was going to go there, but I did. And then so the first, not the first day, but in the first week throughout orientation, we're having like somebody messed up the schedule on this one day, but we have thousands of freshmen out in this centralized the central spot on campus. And there was no place to sit other than the ground to eat your food. There was food trucks all around, and I happened to find the one space where it was literally just enough space uh, for me, and then maybe like one person right here, right? And so I sat down, and then I see this guy walk up, and he says, "Hey, you mind if I eat my burrito next to you?" And I'm like, "Sure thing, man, go for it." And so because I was by myself, so I just started talking to him, and um, he was an interesting character. I was like he was like, "Oh, what do you major in?" I said, "Oh, astrophysics." And then he looked older, but I didn't want to be rude, so because college people from all ages are there. So I said, "What are you majoring in?" And he goes, "Oh, thank you for the compliment, but I actually graduated a little while ago." And then me being as blunt as I can be sometimes, I said like, "Oh, well then, you know, well, what are you doing on the college campus?" And he said, "Well, I actually run a Christian. I'm part of a church on campus." And I was like, "A church at, here at," like my voice kept getting higher. "Berkeley, what, what?" Like I was just stunned. I'm like, "How are you not like protested into oblivion? Every day?" And so I asked him that, and he was like, "Well, it's not that bad. You get snarky remarks here and there, but it's not as bad as you might think." And then after that, we had a really good conversation. So what it ended up happening was, or come to find out, he used to be an atheist, and then he became a Christian, and he was really into science too. And so we had a really good discussion about science and religion. I'll spare you some of the details, but it was a great discussion, and me being a very loving intellectual conversations, um, I really enjoyed it. And he invited me to just this hangout time at the church that he's a part of, and I figured because he was so nice and such a great conversation, I figure I'd at least owe him that much to go to actually show up, and so I did, and I really enjoyed the people. The people were just warm and wonderful and amazing. And they are the reason why I will sing to my grave that Christians need to be warm and loving, almost to the point where it seems a little weird. Like, just don't have shame about it, because when outsiders feel that, it's just like it's such a beautiful thing. And so I felt that, just a beautiful church community. And I wasn't going to be swindled at the same time. I had my guards up, but I was listening to the pastor with the messages, and I kept going to Bible studies, and these things were like resonating so deeply within me, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is striking such a chord within me." And so I decided to sit down with that guy I met on campus, and we sat down once a week for like 9 or 10 weeks, 4 hours a day. It seemed like, I just pepper him with questions, my biggest challenges to Christianity, and he just scraped him right off the shoulder. No problem, chief. And as I was learning about Christianity, I was also seeing how shallow atheism is, because something I didn't really think about was like all of the challenges that I bring to Christianity, like I have to, with my worldview, I have to answer those too. So let me give you a couple examples. I'd be like, well, if God exists, then why is there evil in the world? And then he would give me a wonderful and beautiful answer, which, by the way, I did do a podcast on the problem of evil. You should definitely check that out. But um, he would also say, well, your worldview has to answer that too. You recognize there is evil. What, what, what does being an atheist mean for, uh, or what does evil mean to an atheist? Aren't we just products of evolution? I was like, whoa, okay, hold on. I didn't sign up to defend myself here. Or like, as I was learning about the purpose that Christianity says that we have, not that the purpose that it gives you, but because Christianity is true, it's what it says we have, how we're made. As I was learning about what the purpose of life is, it explained the purpose of life so well, so truthfully, so deeply, that I understand that any sort of answer I had from my atheistic perspective was just complete nonsense. And so, just over the course of those 9 weeks, I really had like this conviction. I was like, you know what, I can't run away from it. I just think this is true, and if it's true, then I need to be all about it. And um, it's kind of funny. I had the sneaking suspicion that I was going to die, and I was like, if I'm going to die, I know I'm going to meet God, and he's not gonna be happy with me because I'm a sinner, and I didn't accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And so I was like, okay, I need to do this. And I didn't know that it was supposed to be some sort of a decision. I know a lot of people are like, well, on April 28th, 8/42, 2022, I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Some people do that. I think that's great. That's wonderful. I'm not condemning that at all. But for me, it probably kind of happened over the course of a few days, and there was a lot of prayer and acceptance of it. And I can't, like I said, I can't pinpoint one moment where it happened, but I knew I felt it I felt it immediately. Once I knew I was in. And yeah, it's been the love of my life, the joy of my life ever since. I've tried to post very frequently about Christianity um, on my social medias. The crux of this podcast has to do with Christianity. It's the ultimately the main goal. I'm talking about Jesus as I'm talking about rap albums and the Batman, right? So I don't ever intend on stopping. And yeah, there it is. All right, got to get my cheaters back on because we're going to go back to the comments. I hope you enjoyed that. There is a more in-depth version of that on YouTube. I could send it to you if you'd like. Um, but there it is. I hope it was easy to understand. Um, are you wearing pajama pants? No, I'm wearing jeans. But that would have been legendary. Maybe the next time, but you won't ever know. Um, yeah, exactly. Bill Nye corrupting my youth. Exactly. And we're showing this in public schools. Why can't we show Stephen Meyer? If you don't know who Stephen Meyer is, he is a scientist who is brilliant, and he advocates for intelligent design, where it's instead of evolution, it's how did God create creation, go figure. And how do we reconcile the idea that the earth is millions, billions of years old, the universe is trillions of years old, and life's evidence seems to point to evolution, but kinda not really. How do we make up for all that? And then, what does God have to do? Anyways, great. You should definitely check out his stuff. Why isn't he in the classroom? But Bill Nye is. Come on now. Um, You mind if I eat my burrito next to you is the most Berkeley thing I've ever heard. Yeah, absolutely. It was a place. And you know what? This is not the reason I became a Christian, but it worked out so fittingly because I love to go against the grain. I love to be a contrarian. I love to argue, and it was like I show up to Berkeley as a conservative, already just loving it because I love going against the grain, and then I became right a Christian, and Berkeley is also like the most secular campus too. So, um, what's LOTF? Josh asks. Man, if you have to ask. No, I'm kidding. So LOTF means leader of the family. And maybe I'll devote a podcast to talking about that. Oh, you already answered that. Thank you. I think that's Jesse. I think. Um, yeah, I'm so grateful that he chose. It's incredible to me. Like it's just the like I said, I didn't even want to go to Berkeley, and then it just I did, and then that day, that time, he could have chosen to eat his burrito somewhere else. He could have chosen to go get food somewhere else. He could have chosen to stay home. But you know what? On that day, he said to himself, I love God and I love people and I want to see people go to heaven. So I'm going to enjoy this amazing burrito that God has blessed me with. And then I'm going to go eat with someone and hope that they, um, you know, can hear about Jesus. And it's what happened. And it's like, I aspire every day to have that evangelistic mindset. I fail all the time, but it's something that I'm striving for. Okay, sorry, that was a get back here. Okay, let's see. The tolerable thing about Bill Nye is his theme song. Yeah, it goes hard in the paint. Let's be honest here. Please do an LOTF podcast. If the people demand, then I am here for the people. Um, okay, please acknowledge me. Love yourself. That I'm pretty sure this is Jesse Jane, right? Okay, I hope so. Why Kristoff is an LOTF? Okay, I didn't watch Frozen. At least when I watched it, I wasn't paying attention, so I can't answer that. Give us one last serve flex. What is that? What does that mean? I don't know what serve flex means. Man, we're at an hour and 42. This was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. Tina, thank you so much for showing up. I see your comments. Love you. Um, yeah, glad you're here. Happy you're here. Your Kanye song impression. Oh no. What was that? What was that song he did on Kids See Ghosts? He was like yelling in the mic. "Kra, kra, ka, 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 ka." It was sick. There it is. That was it. Okay. All right. Well, I think if there's no more questions, then I think I'll wrap it up. This was a good time. We'll see how this does, after it's posted, how many people, kind of drop in afterwards, and then we'll see if we'll do this again. It'd be fun. So, sing Chick-fil-A. I don't know. My voice is tired. I'm gonna have no voice tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to do my job tomorrow. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining. You have yourself a good night. I think I'm gonna close it. And yeah, thank you very, very much for coming. I hope you got to learn about some things. I hope something that I hope is that you could look at the culture and it's not like, oh, I hate the culture. The culture sucks and it's the worst. Okay, honestly, it kind of is. But no, let's look at it and let's see, what is it getting right? What is it getting wrong? And let's call out what it's getting wrong. Absolutely. And then, what chords are it striking? What little strings is it plucking there, if you will? And yeah, yeah, we can learn from that and then figure out how to move forward as Christians, as conservatives. Yeah, good time. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm gonna close it. Y'all have a good night. Thank you once again for joining. Peace out. All right. So happy to have met you too, Jesse Jane. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for asking. All right. All right. That'll do it. I got to figure out how to end this now. Uh oh. Okay. Okay. There we go. All right. Here we go. Okay.